Hi, everyone. It's Bev Janish here, and I'm really excited to be here today with a friend and fellow meditation teacher, Angela Swanson. And Angela is the founder of Cloud9 Meditation. And one of the things that we love to talk about are just anything that feels meaningful for us. And we recently found out that both of us had been through and experienced what is called the dark night of the soul. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is this whole experience of the dark night of the soul. And this term goes way back to the 1500s and came out from a Spanish mystic and poet, John of the Cross. And from a modern day perspective, there seems to a lot of people experiencing this dark night of the soul. And it's often accompanied by a period of a real sense of confusion and uncertainty, and a lot of questions about what is happening to me. And I have to say, I recently heard of a definition of that was really powerful about what is the dark night of the soul. And it was from Dr. Zinnia Pritchard, who is a theologian at the St. Stephen's College in Edmonton, Alberta. And she said that the dark night of the soul is a spiritual process where the seed of life is buried within the soil of suffering. And that was just so powerful to think that having this sense that through life's challenges and the difficulties, that we're actually giving birth to our true self, our authentic self. And it's like this death of the old self in order to give birth to this new self. So I just thought that was so beautiful. So Angela, thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you about the dark night of the soul.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. And yeah, it's a topic that at the time I was going through it, I really had never heard of it before, honestly. But now that it's been 10 years or so since I experienced my first, I would say, dark night of the soul, it is such a fascinating topic. And it seems, on the one hand, to be kind of dark and dreary and, sad. But really, if you look at it from hindsight, you really see that as a massive blessing and almost a miracle in a sense, and something you really didn't plan for, you didn't ask for, you didn't bring about by anything you did or did not do. So in that sense, it's really beyond you in a way, but it's all for you. And, like I said, at the time you're going through it, it's really pretty impossible to see that. And depending on which stage you are in your dark night of the soul and in your life. But so for my first experience through the dark night of the soul, I was definitely in that phase of what is happening to me, completely lost, completely hopeless. And in fact, I would say I was, my life had stopped working. I had a major breakdown. And it really presented itself, I guess you would say clinically, like maybe a deep depression. Although I never went to the doctor and got a diagnosis because that's just not my way. I'd rather, do it myself, DIY my suffering.
Right? DIY. You're going to DIY your dark night of the soul. I actually hear a lot of people say, and I'm just curious, we'll pause for 1 second on that, because I know that was the same. I had this intuitive knowing that the guidance around this, that this wasn't a clinically, I wasn't broken, or I wasn't, there was something that needed to come from within me. I just had this intuitive knowing.
Yeah.
And that even though I had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah, so you felt that same. So then, yeah, tell us more about then how that unfolded and how
Yeah.
you progressed through it.
Well, I guess leading up to it, now that I can look back, I have the vantage point of, having gone through it. I think a lot of things in my life were not right for me, and I was not really being honest about, or facing, or whatever. A lot of avoiding and resisting and bypassing and pushing through. And I think that just, there was enough of that to where God or the universe or the divine just had to put the brakes on it, because it just became like a tipping point, and there was no more I could take. And so the brakes were literally put on my life. And it was a serious dysfunction. Like I had a hard time getting out of bed, or I would get in the bathtub and wouldn't be able to get out of the bathtub. I couldn't speak to people. I couldn't call anyone for help. I was just in this darkness. And but I was really good at hiding it. So I had that skill going for me, because like I said, I wanted to DIY my own suffering, and I didn't think I needed anybody's help. So I spent probably longer than, well, I can't say it was longer than it needed to be, but I was in that state for 3 or 4 months, and nobody knew, because I was just really good at hiding it. But anyway, so the gift of that time, though, now that I can look back, is that I was, there wasn't a lot of dialogue going on in my mind. I wasn't having anxiety where I was just constantly thinking about, overthinking and worrying. It was just really a darkness where there was nothing, a nothingness, a void. And so because it was so quiet in there and so dark, I was really available for when I got that inner prompting. I really did get an inner prompting that encouraged me to learn to meditate. And at the time, that was a crazy idea to me 10 years ago. I was very religious. I considered myself kind of churchy at the time, and I was brought up that way. So 41 years of that. And so that first time I kind of got that inner prompting to meditate, I was just like, oh, no, 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 that's not for me. And, but
I get it the same way too. The
yeah,
same thing, right? It's like, oh no, that's good for other people, but I'm
I
not
know.
gonna,
And it
right?
kept nagging me. And at the same time, I started to kind of hear people talking about meditation, and a few people that I knew personally. Well, it was really just one person who happened to be on my radar in the periphery. And I heard her talking about it. So sort of like I was hearing the right things at the right time, and I was available for them to hear the message, to hear the wisdom, to hear the guidance. And because I'm a very curious person. Even in the dark night of the soul, I was just like, wonder what that is. After a few days, it just got the best of me. And so I hopped on my computer and I Googled it. I Googled meditation. And even 10 years ago, certainly wasn't as popular as it is now, but there was plenty of information out there. And within, 15, 20 minutes, I absolutely knew it was the right thing for me to do. And it was just then a matter of time, because like I said, that girlfriend of mine had been talking about it. So I called her up. She led me to a teacher. And within a month, maybe a month and a half, I had learned to meditate. And I've been meditating every day for the last 10 years. And I mean,
Wow.
everything from that point to now is completely, different than
So,
what I would have imagined it to be.
wow. So would you say that was a turning point? It was,
Oh yeah, it
it
was
was the turning point.
the
So then tell us then how did that, what shifted in you? What
yeah,
changed as a result? And that's what
yeah,
it's the dark night, like it's so powerful to think that it truly is taking away the ways that we normally make sense of the world,
yes,
how we normally just robotically go about usually living conditioned lives or not a
yeah,
sense of self and who we are. And literally even though it doesn't feel like at the time, right, that dark night gives us to say that's not going to work for you anymore. Like you're
mhm,
meant to come home. I hear so many people say come home to themselves, like their
yeah,
true self. And so there's that period in there, right? So
yeah,
tell me about how, what that homecoming, which I think I think
Mm,
meditation and that homecoming is so powerful. Like, tell us about that homecoming for you. How
yeah.
did it enable you to come home?
Well, I would say that that's been an unfolding. That's been a long process. So it wasn't like a light switch. But definitely there were things that happened right away. And it was like what I like to call a sacred subtraction. It's kind of the phrase I use, a sacred subtraction. Things were removed from my life that no longer served me. And there were things that I was afraid to let go of because it was really deeply connected to my identity, to my conditioning, to my family's expectations, all of those things. It was just really a part of me and my life. And I think just by grace is what I call it. It just, those things fell away from me, and I was able to let them go. And when I was able to do that, then I was able to open myself up to, wow, what does Angela want? Who is
Yeah.
Angela?
So what did you let go of? What was this
Yeah.
calling you to let go of?
Well, okay, there's a couple things that pop into my head. This has been 10 years now. So um, the
It's
first
kind
thing,
of like a baby, right? Where you
yes,
forget that you've got,
you
and
look
you
at pictures.
like, I'll never do that again. And then you go, oh,
Yes.
right? I forgot the giving birth. This is like giving birth to
Yeah.
ourselves. And so,
Yes.
okay. Yeah. So,
So,
what did you let
yeah.
go of?
Okay. I'd say the first thing was, and this was a process, more of a process, but it was initiated during this period, was people pleasing. So, making sure everyone else was happy and stable and okay, and then and just completely disregarding my own wants and wishes, for the sake of everyone else. And the second thing was, my religion, literally my religious faith, my churchiness is what just fell away from me. And it was such a gift because, ever since then, I've gotten so much closer to my spiritual, higher power, to God, to my spiritual self. I feel like I'm way more spiritually tuned in than I ever have been. And, I kind of quip about that, like I feel like I really met Jesus once I left the church. I've
Wow.
been really inspired, more inspired by him and in his life and his ministry, but as well as all the other amazing people in all these other religious traditions. And so really one of the biggest gifts was being able to see the unitive nature in spiritual traditions, diverse spiritual traditions. And that's just not something that I heard in my church. I was always being told how we're all so separate, and how this is the right bucket to be in and this is the wrong bucket to be in. And once I, had this experience, I was really able to just walk away from that and look at it with fresh eyes and an open heart. And I saw something completely different. I saw a completely different story and had a completely different experience than what I was used to, which was this unity, this underlying truth, across all of these different traditions and faiths. So that has been, just mind
Wow.
blowing.
So, I have to ask you, that must have been really fearful. Because
Well, it
what
was
happened?
a sense that I was really turned on by it, but I kept it very secret. I didn't talk about it to anyone. You're right. I was very much
Okay.
in the closet about all of this.
So you were doing like you were coming out of your traditional religious box,
Yeah.
you would say.
Yeah.
Would you say you were coming out of what was very traditional and the conditioning
Hmm.
and expanding, not just ditching it all, but just
Yeah.
expanding
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
was meaningful and what resonated with your heart and soul,
Yeah.
but you didn't feel at that time. So you probably felt kind of alone, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I was really in this new phase of it, like exploration and discovery. And it was kind of an adventure, to be honest. And I lost a lot of my fear around, oh, I have to keep this certain job, or, oh, I have to, believe these certain things. I just let all of that go. It was just like I said, a gift that it just fell away from me. And I sort of had, the scales removed from my eyes, and I could just see things in a new way. And because I was really tuned in and I could sense kind of truths and, things that were more true for me than I'd ever been able to experience before. I was always somebody to defer to other people's opinions and take my identity and my belief system from what I was told by other people. And since I literally threw that away, I set it aside. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Um, uh, then I was able to, really pick up, like tune into this different channel in the universe.
Wow.
And
Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
but
would
it was
say,
very lonely too. It was very lonely too because I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know what it really was. I just had this inner knowing, and I knew it because I was experiencing it, but I had no way to talk about it and make other people understand. And I really didn't even have a desire to, because I felt kind of tender, kind of vulnerable. And I didn't want anybody to come in and poke me too much. Because I
because you
really
were,
yeah.
yeah, and that's part why I'm so passionate about these types of interviews. And I'm so grateful you're sharing this story, is I think so many people, I hear from people around the world, and people are confused and it's scary and what's happening and why, and not knowing this is in service of some becoming more yourself and your own path and your own soul's journey, and not following the well paved road. And that's tough. So how did this then affect your relationship? So you've talked about obviously your faith, and you recreated a new relationship with
Mhm.
it, was one beautiful outcome of the dark night of the soul. What about relationships? How did that shift?
Well, I mean, that's more of a difficult journey. That's been more of a difficult journey in some ways. In other ways, it's been, it's made all the difference on the positive side. I had to leave a marriage, and that was just the right thing for me to do because I was more able to live my truth. And, that was the consequence, is this was not, in alignment with my truth anymore. Um, so that marriage faded or ended, but I was, again, able to reconnect to um, other people in my life, some of my children and other friends and family members that really I hadn't been able to understand their own, wounds and their own suffering. So, that's those relationships really started to heal. So some relationships broke away and some came together.
I hear that, like, there's this, it's deep healing. There's
Mhm.
a deep need to live in alignment. And sometimes that means there's certain relationships, like that saying, that here for a reason or a season or are
Yeah.
meant to fall away, which is so painful and so
Mhm.
hard, right? And once you see
Yeah.
something, you can't unsee it. So it is a courageous path. And
Mhm.
then, like you said, on the other side, the healing
Mhm.
and the re-establishing in new ways. And that's so
Yeah.
powerful. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been
Wow.
you know, from the outside looking in, and this is just again something you have to get over, is people aren't going to understand. You're just, why is she doing that? Why is she leaving her corporate job at this Fortune 500 company with pensions? And, I made those
So you
decisions.
so you left.
Yeah. And,
I
why is she divorcing
you're
her husband?
so was leaving your corporate job part of this too?
Well, that had happened a little bit before my dark night of the
Yeah.
soul. So I think there was some things brewing, but it
Yes.
just took a while for it to be like full stop, like hit her over the head, you know, make her pay attention type of stuff. I was getting some of those things like percolating, some of that dissatisfaction or that deep yearning, like there's something not right here. But it just took a while for me to get the message. I guess I'm a slow learner.
Oh my God, but that's the thing, right? Is I
Yeah.
think that's again why we're doing this is there's so many commonalities. So
Yeah.
it was bringing your life, your outer life into alignment with your inner life, where normally we try and fit our inner life into the outside expectations and what our parents or conditioning or life, or you should be grateful you have that Fortune 500
Yeah.
corporate, or you have,
Yeah.
wow. And I think that that's how we know it is a radical change, a radical transformation.
Yep.
And so now that was 10 years ago, and yeah, you and I talk about, we go in and out of challenges, of course, right? But that radical change, so tell me now, how do you look at yourself now? How has that
Mm.
changed your sense of who you are and how you show up in this world?
Oh gosh. I don't know how to say this succinctly, but I'll try. I guess I'm willing to be authentic. I'm willing to stand up for myself and say, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I deserve that. I mean, regardless of what other people think. And I'm not this like, well, I'm just going to do whatever I want and F you type of
No,
person. I don't, that's not what I'm talking
no,
about.
no.
Just really moving through my life in a way that lets myself matter. I let myself matter. And I believe
Wow.
that, I'm here for a reason. And, I don't just sit and indulge myself in all my whims. I, want to put my life to work and be a use in the world and help people in whatever way I can. And I don't really care what that looks like. I just am really following those inner promptings. And life has been a crazy adventure in these last 10 years. And I've been through, other dark nights of the soul, very painful experiences. And, my life it's not like I'm just sailing through my life and everything's perfect. But I've never been happier. I've never felt the kind of joy that I feel on a regular basis. Um, I've never felt so alive. And so I guess that's the biggest transformation is that I'm alive. I'm alive in my own life.
Wow. And I just watching and being on this journey with you and watching the difference you make in the world, that's so obvious. And I mean, not that everything's perfect, not
Mm.
that, we talk about what we struggle with and but to feel it and to be alive in it and to feel authentic in it. And that's so inspiring. And so as I'm just kind of wrapping up our interview, and I am so grateful that you shared what you've shared, because it truly, I think it touches my heart, and I think it's just really helpful for people to know that they're not alone, and this isn't really a hard but beautiful journey to go through this kind of experience that kind of brings us home to ourselves. So just share. I'm going to be sharing, your website to Cloud9 Meditation. And so if people want to, and then you are an amazing meditation teacher and guide. And so is there anything about that you would like to share in terms of how you're being of service in the world?
Sure. Well, I'm really committed to, helping people along their meditation journey. And I believe that meditation is really a foundational tool for transformation, for wellness, for health, for happiness. I really believe it is the foundation for everything. um, and I feel like it fits in with, any lifestyle, any tradition, any faith, any religion, or lack thereof, any belief system. I really truly believe that. So my passion is to help people learn how to meditate in a way that is sustainable and is doable, and help them stay consistent and confident and connected, so that this practice becomes a non-negotiable part of their daily life. Because I don't know of anything more effective than, that you could do every day. I don't care what you're talking about. I think meditation is the key to everything else. It prepares us for everything else we want to do in our life. And that's just the bottom line. So, we'll have our challenges, and those will help us transform as well. But meditation will indeed, help us even through those times. So it's my passion to just be a guide and a teacher. And I have a group called The Moment Meditation. So it's a membership group. And we gather online like this on Zoom 4 times a week. And I teach and guide live. The students, can come to, it's like a sort of a virtual studio. So you come to whatever classes you want. And I make it really affordable. So, for a little bit of money a month, you can have this virtual studio, learn meditation, be supported in your practice, and have personal guidance from me, who's been doing it for 10 years now. So, I mean,
that's it. Doesn't get any better than that, and be part of this. That's it. Well, Angela, thank you so very much for sharing your story, for chatting with me. I always love to talk with you. And like I say, I will share contact information in case people want to check out your amazing meditation offerings. And thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Until we talk next time, some next meaningful discussion. Okay. Yes. Bye. Bye, everyone.